Hi, in this episode of The Secret Sauce of Large Property Managers, I have invited Tom Archer, who is the CEO of ALTIDO. ALTIDO is a partnership of 4 different property management companies, pan-European one too. So there's one in the UK, one in Scotland, one in Italy and one in Portugal. And these companies came together to form one bigger property management company. So I had some questions for Tom, wondering what were the challenges in coming together that way, and what are the challenges today in incorporating all of their different ideas and ways of running their businesses. And I'm also looking to find out about what they hold for the future, what are they planning to do. This episode is available on podcast and also on YouTube, and I'll see you on the other side. So hi, thank you so much for participating in this episode. We'd like to hear everything about ALTIDO. You're the CEO, and my first question for you is, tell us shortly what you've been doing before ALTIDO, and about your current position. What is it like to be the CEO of ALTIDO?
Sure. So before ALTIDO, I was running a property management company in London with my business partner, William. We grew up together and we did an apple juice business before London property. And then, we actually developed a property in London, in Chelsea. And off the back of that, we then started doing short-term lets. It was struggling to sell. And so we sort of experimented with Airbnb. And so that sort of led us into setting up our own company called the London Residents Club.
Very good. And so how did that transform into ALTIDO?
So we've been running London Residents Club, or LRC, for the last 4 years. And we've met a lot of guys in the industry at various conferences and all sorts of events. And actually, we had a very similar mindset to a lot of other people in the industry. We've seen a lot of expansion into new markets. And we were sort of thinking, well, either we expand ourselves into new markets in Europe or elsewhere. And actually, we thought, there may be a sort of partnership model that we could pursue. So we talked to a few of our friends in the industry. They had similar mindsets and similar ideas. And so we sort of started meeting up. And that was about 1.5 years ago. And then as things progressed, the kind of group got a bit smaller, and we kind of grouped very like-minded people together with the same vision, same sort of portfolio. And out of that became where we had dinner one day and we sort of said, right, we're either going to do this or we're going to stop talking. And we all thought we're just going to go for it. And then we had the fun sort of legal part for 6 months after that. But we signed the papers on 3rd of May this year, 2019.
So congratulations on that one. I think it was a big shock to the industry because I don't think that's been done before in that kind of partnership. How many companies came together, and what are their names and locations? I think would be interesting to find out.
Sure. So at the moment we're 4 companies. There's the London Residents Club, B&B Buddy in Scotland. They're in Edinburgh and Glasgow. And we have Hintown in Italy, and they're in most of the major cities in Italy. And then we have Rent Experience in Lisbon, who are also expanding into Porto. So we sit with 4 companies as a group for the moment. The plan is to integrate the businesses, and then as we go forward into the new year, to start expanding again to sort of partner with new businesses.
So what does it mean, grouping together? Does it mean that suddenly you share the cost for everything that is distribution, everything that is tech? What else do you share?
Yeah, so when we started having high-level conversations, we sort of went down lots of different paths of how we're actually going to partner. How does it actually work? How does the cost base work? And that if we were going to make this work, we had to go in all in. Basically, we had to put all our chips on the table. So we decided to set up a holding company, and that's ALTIDO. And out of that holding company owns the 4 businesses outright. And it was a merger of equal parts. And so there wasn't one partner that we all went in with 25% essentially of ALTIDO. So that meant that, just putting all our eggs in one basket. And it meant that cross-charging and sharing of costs and tech became much easier because essentially it's one company.
Very good, very clever. So since May, how are you doing? Are you enjoying it? Is there a lot of fights going on?
Not too many fights so far. We've it's been busy. I think busy is probably the right word. We've actually been working together for about a year already. So we started integrating with B&B Buddy in Scotland, for example, last year already. And we kind of chose the best from each team, from each company to form our management team. And so the past few months have been good. I've been very busy. The challenge at the moment is really integrating our businesses. So making sure we all use the same software, we all have the same operational processes, we have the same quality of linen. Everything really has to be consistent and aligned, basically.
So that's leading me exactly to my next question, actually, because what is the ALTIDO brand? What do you stand for, and who are your customers?
Sure. So ALTIDO stands for A Life That I Dream Of, and as 4 companies, A Life That I Dream Of. So it's an alliteration. Yeah. And as 4 companies, we were very much focused on the property. We were focused on property acquisition and on property owners, but as ALTIDO, we want to be focused much more on the guest. And so that's where we see the future of the industry, and that's where we see the future of ALTIDO. So this has really been a move for us to move away from the property manager and more towards the guest. And we're doing that through various methods, but one is to create our own booking platform to start targeting return customers, and also start looking at grabbing some market share from the big guys, and that's more of a sort of longer term play. But yeah, we're also looking at controlling some of our inventory, so bringing on more guest houses, more service departments, and that way we can control the guest experience more and more.
Interesting. So your customers are leisure, business at the moment. It's all sorts, or?
Yeah, we have a variety of customers. I think, as most property managers do, we've done quite well at trying to target both leisure and business. So we have different products on our portfolio that are very much focused on business. We have service departments, places that have a consistent level of service, self-check-in, good Wi-Fi, all that sort of things. And then we also have a number of sort of villas and high-end accommodation for people wanting a more unique experience, whether it's a 6-bed house next to Harrods, or whether it's a villa in Italy. We're trying to target all the different types of all the different customer segments.
So when you say you're going to go for service departments, does that mean you're going to rent them full time, right? You're going to own the availability? Yeah,
so we have 2 different models. We're looking at sort of bringing on the sort of master lease model, a bit like some of our competitors, and we'll rent it for a number of years. We'll renovate it, design it to an ALTIDO design. We're already building an ALTIDO design team. And then we also have a sort of management model where we just charge like a standard commission to do the management of a service department.
Okay, very good. So good you're talking about brand, because what do you think? Do you think brand and the consistency of the identity throughout every apartment, is that something that's really important in today's market?
It's really important, and it's really challenging, as you can imagine. Trying to cover both a 1-bed flat in Edinburgh, a 6-bed house in London, and a villa in Tuscany. It's pretty challenging keeping that consistent. It's absolutely a priority for us. I think one of the things that Airbnb lacks is the ability for a known quality of service. So if you're booking on Airbnb, maybe you're not really sure about the quality of service, and that's where we see ourselves coming in. We can provide consistent service, whether it is a villa or a one-bed flat. But we're also looking at building up 3 different product lines. So we will have 3 tiers of service or quality of apartments. So we'll have ALTIDO Affordable, ALTIDO Lifestyle, and ALTIDO Luxury.
All right, I'd like to be invited to the ALTIDO Luxury, please.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
So are you looking for investment? This must cost a lot of money to rebrand all of your inventory, right? Refurnish.
Yeah, so we, as 4 companies, one of the things that brought us together and maybe was a bit unusual is that we were all profitable. So we all came on with our own profit that we'd built up over the years. None of us have actually sought investment before, so we've had to be profitable. And that's meant that we run quite lean companies, but it meant that we also had some internal finance to be able to fund some of this integration and some of our tech. But we are looking for investment at some point. As I said, our first goal at the moment is to integrate our businesses, integrate our operational processes, and then come New Year, we're really looking outside to look at new partners, to look at new opportunities and start expanding across Europe.
Amazing. So that's the plans for the future, is expanding. And you're going to do that through, now that you have a lot of experience with this, are you going to do this through acquisition of other property management companies? Is that the plan?
Yes, in short. I think we've seen a lot of acquisitions happen in our marketplace that have been maybe not done that well or with that much respect of the founders. And I think that's where we tried to buck the trend a bit. We didn't have investment to help us merge. We kind of came together under a unified vision and a sort of mutual respect for what each other had built. And so going forward, we want to really work with like-minded businesses, with founders who want to be part of the bigger picture, who aren't looking for just some cash and sort of end of the road kind of thing. We're looking at becoming more of a partnership model. And I think there's a huge amount of opportunity out there. We've had a lot of guys who have come up to us and sort of been quite interested already.
Yes, there is a lot of opportunities. It is getting crowded though. You'll find. So I think a good, it sounds like you're preparing everything for the future, so I'm sure you'll do well. So in terms of tech, because I'm the tech girl, what have you built and what do you outsource, and how many programmers do you have between all of you?
So we have a pretty varied tech stack at the moment. Different companies came with sort of different tech that they'd built. So in Portugal, they built some quite neat accounting software. And in Italy, they had an owner's dashboard. Scotland and England, we sort of focused more on sort of what was out there in the industry. So using various tech companies to enable us to grow and scale and manage our systems.
Third-party tech.
Yeah, third-party tech, yeah. So going forward, we've definitely taken the Portuguese and the Italian's tech stack, but I think that's, again, one of the reasons for taking on investment next year is to start building out some of our own tech. And there's only so far we can go with third-party tech. I think, we need to start building some of our own tech.
Yeah. And so how many programmers do you have today? Have you started on this, or is this still the way it was?
So at the moment, we actually, the Italian and the Portuguese company actually outsourced quite a lot of their tech building historically. And so we don't actually currently have our own tech team. It's something that we're, obviously as we grow, as we get bigger, we're looking pretty closely at. And one of the reasons, again, for investment is to bring on companies and bring on investors who have actually built tech before. So getting some help with that is definitely an area that we would sort of appreciate. It's, I guess, the future in terms of a PMS system. At the moment, we're very much aligned with Guesty. So we've been using Guesty in London from the start. Actually, I remember being pitched by their CEO sort of 5 years ago. And so we've been with them, we've been journeying with them right from the beginning, and we're pretty happy with them. And we've just sort of agreed as a group to use Guesty going forward. So I think the PMS build is probably a few years off, but we're interested in all types of other tech.
Okay. So you have your PMS sorted with guesting, and then you're going to build what on top?
So yeah, as you talked about the importance of consistency. So I think we'll be looking at building our own kind of guest-facing booking software and concierge type apps and things like that. So really trying to curate the guest experience, and tech can definitely help us get there.
So talking about distribution, which is also close to my heart for obvious reasons, how do you choose your channels? How do you choose your channels? So how do you make a decision to, let's say, I'm going to start, working with Expedia, I'm going to start working with Booking.com. How many channels do you choose a year? How does that process work for the Altido brand?
Sure. So you might have read about 6 months ago, LRC, for London Residence Club, partnered with Marriott Homes and Villas, their new booking site. So that's certainly something that hopefully will be announced very shortly in terms of the Altido project. So I think Marriott have been great so far. They've been a brilliant partner, getting alongside us. There's sort of been a lot of communication in terms of developing their end and helping us with our side of things as well. So Marriott, as I say, Marriott's been a great addition to the channel family. In terms of other sort of more niche channels, we work closely with the Plum Guide. They've been really good to us as well in London, especially. We've been with them basically from the start of their journey as well, and certainly for our higher end properties, they've been brilliant. And then we've used, I think, Rentals United with Guesty for a number of years as well to sort of target multi-distribution. But Airbnb, Booking.com are still one of our main partners.
Okay, so you're not looking to find more distribution channels at this stage?
I think we're always interested. There is a danger, I think, when you start spreading yourself too thin, that you start losing the ability to properly develop those relationships. So, we're professional partners with Airbnb across the group. And again, they've been incredibly helpful, sort of developing a relationship and developing our portfolio with us. And it's really important for us to maintain those strong relationships. And so, yes, we can sort of completely plaster ourselves across every single channel, but actually from a consistency point of view and from a relationship management perspective, it's quite useful having very close partners.
Funny you should say that, because this is my second podcast, and on the first podcast, Stay Alfred said exactly the same thing. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't go into too many channels, and the amount of research that one has to do, and keeping everything on track and setting everything up. You want to do it really, really well, and it takes time and investment. And again, you don't want to spread yourself thin was exactly his sentence. But what about midterm OTAs? OTAs that would take 30-day bookings. What about these guys? Are you looking at those? Or
we are, yeah. So there's a lot out there. Again, probably take a similar line to Stay Alfred in terms of not trying to spread ourselves too thin, focusing on what we've got at the moment. We do obviously we have our own channel as 4 different businesses. We've all grown our booking sites a little bit ourselves, so we do get some bookings direct, and that's certainly an area that we're looking to grow out as we go and as we expand. But yeah, we're always open, but still trying to be a bit more selective.
Good. So I think I've asked you everything I wanted to ask, and but I will finish on a tricky question. Your industry predictions for 2020. What do you think is happening in the industry?
Sure. So without being too much of a prophet, I think we will see more consolidation. We've seen the start of it over the last couple of years. I think there will inevitably be maybe a few booms and busts, and that always presents opportunity for consolidation. From our perspective, we see the future becoming much more guest focused. There was a bit of a land grab to be focused on property acquisition, and the sort of guests are slightly sidelined. So in making sure that our operations and consistency of services is the best out there is really important to us. And I think we will also see more of the bigger players getting more involved. Some of the hotel brands have always been a bit hesitant. Some of the big developers, the agents out there, I think everyone's been a little bit hesitant. And as this market's proven itself more and more, I think we'll see more and more big players getting more involved. And yeah, I think obviously regulation is always talked about. There will be more regulation, though it's only going one way. And we want to sort of work with the different councils, work with the different governments to make sure that we're ahead of the curve. I didn't really want to mention the B word on a podcast, but Brexit is obviously on the forefront of some of our minds. Hopefully we're fairly protected from it. We operate pan-European, but we're paying close attention to it. But I'm pretty sure it's actually probably only a good thing for London, for example. If the pound drops, you see more tourism, and there's a lot of opportunity still.
Then you can definitely invite me to the luxury.
Yeah, then everyone can afford to live in a 6-bed house in Harrogate.
All right, well, let's cross fingers for you. Well, thanks so much. I thought that was really interesting. Very nice to meet you, and and thanks for sharing everything about ALTIDO with our listeners and our viewers. And I will put the links into the comments so that everybody can click and go and see. And I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.